Today we're going to be going over 15 S-tier fragrances that I think every collector should try at some point. Whether you're going into these as a blind buy, if you feel comfortable doing so, or if you're just trying a sample online or in stores, you should try to at least get your nose on these just because they're that good. Now, these aren't necessarily all hype monsters either. Some are, some not so much, but regardless of where they stand as far as their social acceptance in the fragrance community, I think individually, all of these are just really, really good, well above average, and just phenomenal releases altogether. And there's a specific reason for each one of these, and I'll kind of go into that a little bit as we go. Because we have so many to go through, though, I'm going to breeze through them relatively quickly. At this point, I've done videos on most of these standalone, or I've featured them in lists, a few times at least. So you can kind of go look through my catalog and see some information on more of these. Now, the first one is YSL L'Homme Eau de Parfum, a really nice updated version on the original, which I believe was a 2006 release, but I can't remember for sure. So let me know down below when the original L'Homme was released, because I'm just guessing there, but it's somewhere around that time frame. It's been out for a while. It's definitely an OG. It's one that has a lot of respect. It's also one that is really easy to pass up on these days because of all of the flankers. Now, the weird thing is L'Homme Eau de Parfum came out years later. There were so many other flanker releases in between the original and the Eau de Parfum standalone. But I'm really glad that they ended up putting this one out anyway. It's got oak and cognac with some of that ginger and lavender. It's a little bit more of a warm, spicy, and kind of boozy approach on that OG smell. Still a gentleman's classic, still something that is really mature and kind of sexy and mysterious smelling, just with a more modern approach and a more interesting approach as well. Don't get me wrong, the original L'Homme is still amazing, but this is very much a welcomed improvement and just something to kind of bring that DNA back to life a little bit. Next up, we have Carolina Herrera Bronze Tonka. It's got tonka, saffron, coffee, and a ton of sandalwood in here. They list off oud as well. It's there a little, not a ton. Definitely wouldn't call this an oud scent. It's more of a sweet, woody, sandalwood tonka scent with some saffron as well coming through. Pretty strong. Really creamy, really rich, really smooth, and slightly gourmand coming from the coffee a little, but not a ton. But that really has a nice, punchy, sweet, sexy smell off the opening. Really, really rich and heavy and full-bodied. I've said it before, but the more premium line of these Carolina Herrera fragrances are amazing, right? I've got not all of them, but a good mess of them at this point. Platinum Leather, Iris Empire, Mystery Tobacco, Virgin Mint. I think that might be it, including this one. Still quite a few more out there I need to get yet, but of all of those, they're all great. I haven't smelled a single one yet that is just okay. So they really are doing a good job here. This one might not connect to as many people as maybe a couple of the others, given the type of sweetness that it is. It could come across a little bit more unisex. So just kind of keep that in mind going into it. But it's an absolute monster of a scent, beast mode. So if you're someone who is really chasing performance first and foremost, this is going to deliver on that. You're looking at a little bit over $200 on discounters. None of these are cheap by any means, but I'll tell you what, they can really hold their own up against some really expensive niche fragrances out there. So they're doing a great job. Definitely worth trying out. This next one is just about niche price as well, even though it's a designer, and it's not even their exclusive line either. Dior Homme Parfum, you're looking at about $170 to $180 for 100 ml, which is pricey, right? But you gotta kind of pay up for it sometimes, although not necessarily. You could get FOMO Gary's Den for a little bit under $40. That is going to get you just about spot on to Dior Homme Parfum. So just a little side note there. If you don't want to spend this much, go for that one. And I'll link that one down below as well. It's a really, really good price for a great alternative. But because this is the originating DNA, I figured I would toss it in. You could go either way. It's got iris, of course, but also a lot of oud, rose, and leather. It's a much more dark and mysterious take on the more mainstream approach of iris, Dior Homme Intense, Dior Homme. And this is yet another one that might not appeal to everybody in the same way that it does for me and for a lot of other people who like the scent. Much more daring. Could be a risky blind buy for sure. So definitely try to get a sample. I mean, you're not really going to be able to sample this in stores. You're going to have to pay for a decant online. So that's kind of where you're at on this one, at least if you're in the US as far as sampling it in stores. I think overseas, much easier. But here, it's impossible to buy just in general sometimes, and especially trying it in person. So that's kind of where you're going to be at on this one, but I do think it is worth trying at some point just so you can understand what all the hype is about. Next up, we have Mage Reflection 45 Extrait. So I think this is a massive, massive improvement over the original by a long shot. Not that the original, which is an eau de parfum, is bad, because it's not. I mean, it's a classic. It got a fair amount of hype in the community back a few years ago, but I do think this one just takes that DNA, that existing DNA, and improves upon it greatly. Retails for $500. That's astronomical. It just came into stock for $220. I sent out an email and a text to my mailing list and texting list, sold out quickly. I harp on this all the time, but if you haven't joined that list yet, do so. It's completely free to sign up, and you can unsubscribe at any point. But I mean, that's just where you're going to be able to get these good deals that are unheard of elsewhere. The usual going rate for this one on discounters is a little bit over $300, which is still better than $500, but to get it $220 is next level. So if you want to be notified of great deals like that, send a text to the number down below, click the link down below, enter your email, and you're going to get all the good stuff. This takes that original DNA, reworks it, makes it a little bit more sweet, slightly, a little bit more heavy, but then they blow up the performance big time. The original was never a beast mode scent, not necessarily completely weak either, just kind of more of an average performer, for lack of a better term. This one is just, it's beast mode. It really takes it to the next level. And when you can get it for, you know, a really, really good price, it is worth it, no questions asked. Just a super classy men's white floral. It's probably one of the most expensive smelling fragrances I own as far as just the actual smell. Like, I'm not talking about quality, which is really good, but just in terms of something that smells like royalty, that's Reflection Man. Even the eau de parfum, but I love the Extrait. Next up, we have Rochas Man Intense. You know, don't mind the bottle. Might not be one that you want to proudly display, but I'll tell you what, the scent is amazing. It's a coffee scent, cappuccino more specifically, with quite a bit of lavender in here, some fir balsam too. It's really good. At one point, years and years ago, there was a Rochas Man Intense, and then they discontinued it, and then all we had for the longest time was just the original. And just within the past couple of years, they released the Intense again, and it's down to under $40. It is one of the best budget-friendly coffee fragrances that you can buy. And again, by budget-friendly, I'm just talking under $50, under $40 even. So usually, as far as coffee scents are concerned, there aren't a ton in that price range. That more cheapy price range is typically full of aquatics and things of that nature that are just a little bit more mass-pleasing overall. If you like coffee, the smell, the taste, whatever, you're going to love this scent. It's a fantastic one for fall and winter time that a lot of people are probably sleeping on, maybe because of the bottle, maybe because it's kind of almost a cheapy price, maybe because you just haven't even heard of it, but it's worth trying. Okay, we're going to go from a cheap coffee fragrance to a more expensive premium coffee scent. I'm trying to add some variety. I don't usually feature a ton of niche, but for a video like this, they kind of fit in here. And again, there's plenty of affordable options that I'm going through as well. And so if you want to spend a bit more and get just a next level, more rich and heavy coffee scent, get Killian Intoxicated. As far as like gourmand, boozy, and edible fragrances go, Killian is probably one of the best niche brands out there doing this type of thing. They have so many offerings. Back to Black, Intoxicated, Straight to Heaven. I'm missing one, an obvious one. Black Phantom, Angel Share, right? All of these are just amazing, really, really realistic and gourmand style, super sweet and strong. Coffee, cardamom, nutmeg, and cinnamon. It's spicy, it's rich, and it's spicy. Like, it's a next level coffee scent that's going to be a little bit more catered to the the guy who wants something a bit more extreme. You know, that Rochas Man Intense, it's coffee for sure, but it is a little bit more of a mild and designer approach. This one, they're not holding back. They're kind of giving the people what they want when you say that you want something different and unique to stand out. Given that it's just a brand that is not designer, and given that it's just a bit more expensive, you're not going to smell this all over the place like you would from a lot of other designer brands. So it's a good way to stand out. Great quality, great performance. Speaking of standing out and smelling unique, we have Laik Ombre Noir. Cognac, tobacco, cinnamon, and myrrh. Another one that just is impressive. So we're kind of going backwards in price. Instead of going real expensive, this one is like $60 to $70. And I'll tell you right now, it smells a lot more expensive than that. If I were to smell this one blindly, and I didn't know what it was, obviously, I would expect it to be in the $150 range. I mean, really, I would. It's got the uniqueness, it has the quality, it just has the more premium allure to it that I would assume as such, priced that way. But it's not. Again, well under $100 for this one. So it is a little bit smoky and rich and tobacco focused, but it's not like too strong either, which can sometimes happen with niche. And then you kind of get into a situation where it's hard to wear because maybe you don't feel comfortable doing so. That's not the case here. It does have more of an easier going approach, but with just enough uniqueness to make it stand out. Just given the nature of it and the warm spices and everything and some of that boozy touch, it smells great for fall, and it reminds me of the season of fall, which is coming up quicker than we might expect. So this would be a good one to pick up and wear for that time of year when it's cooling off. Next up, we have Chanel Egoist, just the original. Now, you guys know I love Platinum Egoist. It's a really, really good kind of soapy, aromatic fougere barbershop style scent, but with a very modernized approach. Great one. But this one, just the original, these days is hardly ever brought up. Cinnamon, sandalwood, rose, and tobacco. And there's other notes too. I think there's a guaiac wood in here and just a bunch of other woods. Another woody, warm, spicy. The rose is not as strong as you might expect it to be, so don't worry about that too much. Sometimes that can throw things off. But also keep in mind, this is definitely going to be a little bit more old school, a little bit more traditional. Not going to be what you're used to smelling these days as far as new releases, which a lot of people, that's kind of what they're after. You know, you kind of look around and you see the direction that new releases are going, and it's kind of pushing a lot of people to maybe go back and revisit some of the older classics because it's like, man, I got to get away from all this bubblegummy sweetness and all the blue ambroxan and just all of that stuff. It's ever consuming with new fragrance releases, especially from designer brands. And so you might find yourself wanting to reach for some older school scents, and this is one of them. It's a Chanel, so you know the quality is going to be premium. This is a good performing one too, given all the woods and the spices going on. Something that's going to be unique, a great way to stand out. But again, my younger audience out there might not connect with this one as much, although you could easily if you like this type of thing. Next up, we have Herrera CH Men Passion. This one's got iris, sandalwood, and olibanum. So I wanted to feature an iris that was going to be more wearable than Dior Homme Parfum because, again, I know not everybody's really going to enjoy that one. It's a bit too much sometimes. So obviously I could go for Dior Homme Intense or Gentleman Eau de Parfum or Prada L'Homme Intense or Valentino Uomo Intense. Any of those, right? Well, why not feature something a little bit different? This is newer within the past couple years, but I'll tell you what, it's absolutely fantastic. It is such an impressive iris scent that still maintains a bit of a different approach, even though this type of style is really popular these days. A lot of designer brands are going to try to get their iris scent into the mix because that's what's popular. Happened with oud, happened with ambroxan, all the trends. So this is one of their approaches on the more affordable end of things. Has a little bit of a resinous approach from the olibanum in here, which is kind of separating it from the rest. So a really nice way to stand out, and it's relatively affordable on discounters. Okay, next up, let's go with a really good kind of patchouli scent. We have Mercedes-Benz Club Extreme. This one's got patchouli, leather, and amber. Kind of reminds people of the original Angel Men a little bit. I've also seen it kind of compared to Guerlain L'Instant de Guerlain Eau de Parfum, or LIDGE, better known as, kind of abbreviated there because it's a pretty big name. And I could see a little bit of both. It's more like a more wearable down-to-earth version of Angelman, just to put it in that kind of comparison there. Which Angelman, it's got a ton of patchouli and also caramel and coffee and a whole bunch of notes. It's pretty extreme, and it can be a bit hard to pull off sometimes. This one's a lot more smooth, a lot more easygoing, and I find it to be more appealing to a wider audience. It's also a bit more affordable at about 40 bucks. Okay, now we're gonna go from kind of that more affordable patchouli scent to a premium priced patchouli scent. Patchouli and woods essentially is all this one's about. Xerjoff Richwood. Patchouli and sandalwood. That's basically all this one has. Patchouli is a note that just smells so premium, smells so masculine and so expensive. It smells rich, and that's kind of what we got going on here. This is, again, it's pricey, but it also smells that way too. You know, you're not paying an inflated price to get something that smells cheap by any means, and also you really can't achieve this smell from anything else. This is yet another one where I wouldn't really recommend to just go out and blind buy it. You really have to know what you're into. And also, again, more of a classic smell because of the type of woods and the warm spices going on. But again, this is something where if you're striving and craving for something that is unique and something that stands out and something that goes against the grain in terms of what they're putting out these days, again, from designer and niche, this is it. You have to pony up for it, but man, nobody else is going to smell like this. Okay, now let's go over to Geon LOM Extreme. It's got the tobacco and the plum and the almond. A much more, you know, entry-level approach as far as price. It's not a cheapie by any means, but, you know, it's not Xerjoff Richwood pricing either. You're looking at about 100 bucks, actually sometimes a little bit less than 100. And it's technically a niche brand, you know, Geon LOM is, but with this pricing, it's designer price. And I'm telling you, that plum, tobacco, almond combination is next level. There's nothing else out there really like this, except for clones. Like there is a Fragrance World Supreme LOM Extreme, which is, I don't know, I think that's like $30 to $35, and it smells about spot on. So it has been cloned. But aside from that, you know, this is very much an original smelling DNA. The whole line itself is just super unique, and they really took the note of almond and built something amazing around it, which that note is really underutilized, and it just shows you how much potential it has. You don't really hear a ton about Tumi, you know, their fragrances that is, but this one, 19 Degree, is phenomenal. It's got raspberry, suede, and musk, and I'm telling you, the raspberry, it's like genuine. It's a really, really authentic smelling raspberry, and it smells so good. This one is one of a kind. Yet another release that stands out. Nothing else out there like it. Now this is an extrait and it's expensive. I think it retails for like $170 or something along those lines. I paid full retail for it. The note breakdown is what drew me in, mixed with the fact that it's an extrait, which I'm a sucker for. I love that concentration. It works really well on my skin. And also part of it is that sleek looking bottle, that texture. All of that combined where I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna shell out $170+ for this. And it hurt at first, it stung. And I was kind of nervous, right? But then I got it in the mail and I tried it and I was like, okay, I feel better now. I'm really happy with this. Man, it smells absolutely beautiful. Really good, fruity, leathery, soapy, musky, a little bit woody. Fantastic. This is yet another scent that is going to help you really stand out and just smell unique. Running down to the end, we have PDM Hobdon. This smells like fall. That's it. If you were to ask me what is my most autumn smelling scent, this is going to be top 3. It really is. It's got myrrh, apple, caramel. It smells like a caramel apple. It smells like fall festivals and fairs and walking around and you know, windy, cold outside and leaves falling and hoodies. That's what this smells like. It is undeniable. It is insane how this can capture a whole season. Gosh, I've been spraying pretty much everything to smell it. It's getting really, really hard to breathe down here, but this will be the last one. I have to do it. Man, that is just... that's just insane. I'm speechless. What can I say? I'm losing my words here. If there's one PDM that I think you should try that hasn't been hyped up, like Layton, Sedley, Greenlee, etc., Herod, this is it. This is probably one of their most underrated hidden gem fragrances that is just one of the best from the brand in general. If you're passionate about the season of fall, like I am, get this. Because really, I would say fall is probably my second favorite time of year, summer being first. I've always loved summer. I just love summer. But fall, you get that nice relief, that nice break from the heat there towards the end. And then again, there's just something about the ambiance of fall. And this one embodies that. All right, let's finish this one up here with AFNAN Tarathi Blue. It is a clone of Bulgari Tiger, which I don't own a full bottle of. I only have sampled it. So that's kind of sad. But you know what? They're so close that I just haven't really pulled the trigger on the original yet. You know, like with Dior Homme Parfum I was talking about earlier, I could have featured the clone. I have the original, I'll feature that. Knowing how close they are, you know, I might just buy the clone next time. And so that's kind of where I'm at with this one. I know how close they are because I've sampled it, and then now I have this. At some point, I will probably buy the bottle, primarily because of the looks of the bottle. I love the look of the Bulgari, I think it's Lay Jim collection and Tiger. I love the smell of it, so I'll probably get that one first at some point when I'm ready to spend the money on it. But I just don't feel the need because of how close this is. So if that tells you anything, there you go. It's basically it's a bergamot-focused amber scent with a nice classic touch. It is fantastic. It's super premium smelling. Great performance and great quality out of this AFNAN. There you guys go, 15 S-tier fantastic fragrances that you should definitely try. And if you haven't tried them, you're missing out. You're also missing out if you're not on my mailing list and texting list. Stuff like this for 200 bucks, you know, come on, just jump on there. And again, it's free to sign up. You're gonna love it. You can enter to win 24 fragrances as well by hitting the first link down below. That's gonna do it for me. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.